I'd like to start by defining what we mean by a recipient in the resolution. They mentioned once again, what's the accountability of NGOs? How can we tie it to NGOs' record of anything? Recipient here means country or government. It doesn't matter if you call it a government or country. If a country supports democracy and human rights, we will tie aid to them. The way we will tie aid will be different, different based on that record. If they support democracy and human rights, we'll give more to the government, less to the NGOs. If they don't support democracy and human rights, we'll give more to the NGOs, less to the government. It's a very straightforward plan. I don't know why they keep making an issue about this. More importantly, when my partner said in his cross-examination, the criteria for deciding NGOs, when you said the record of NGOs, he thought you meant how are we going to decide which NGOs to support. He had no idea you were referring to the resolution here. All right, so moving forward. They said that they had the gist of all the arguments throughout their speech, even if they haven't mentioned each point. Okay, well, let's list all the arguments they said. You'll be the judge of whether they mentioned it or not. We claim that they dropped, 1, it serves as a possible incentive for willing countries to democratize and preserve human rights. 2, it serves as aid to oppressed citizens of unwilling countries and as a tool for those oppressed citizens to rise up and fight against abusive governments. Furthermore, they completely dropped our third argument of homegrown democracy would be good because of less violence. Not once did they mention this. They did not mention state-sponsored terrorism. They never mention anything about parroting values. As such, we should assume that they believe that this is all true, so they are in favor of more violence, internal, external, and terrorism, and they're in favor of America being hypocritical constantly. Okay, that's great. If they want to go with that, that's fine by us. I think it's a terrible strategy. Anyway, moving to their points in their second negative rebuttal. They mentioned that they questioned if Egypt was unstable. They mentioned how many countries have dissipated over the history of time. We're talking about a revolution. If you have a revolution, that means you're unstable. Your people do not want you there anymore. That's instability. Furthermore, they mentioned that we would not have won the Cold War without the Soviet Union. They claimed this. And yet, we had the atomic bomb at the time. We need the Soviet Union when we have the most powerful weapon of all time up to that point? I think that's absurd. More importantly, by aiding them, we created a longer, bigger, harsher war in which children were afraid for their lives daily. I think that this is a horrible result, and for them to parade this is ridiculous. They mentioned that Saudi Arabia is not all terrorists. We agree they're not all terrorists, but the government backs this terrorism, and they have many terrorists. Our evidence was the WikiLeaks cable. They mentioned this thing about abused children. We're helping these countries regardless. The way we tie them is different depending on their record, and that's why you'll be voting affirmative today. Thank you.